Right. Yeah? Oh, God.
Oh,
no, we're good. Right, I'll leave it alone now. Right. Sorry about that. Can I introduce the gang? This is the first years here.
Hi, gang. Hello. Wow, there's lots of you.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been drawing.
Drinking beer? Is that looks like Dr. Beck's on the front too?
Yeah, Will's always drinking. We can't stop him. Right, is it sparkling water? Will, yeah, sparkling water.
Oh, posh.
Can you start? Can we? Right now, I'm here. Sorry about that. Can we get like a proper introduction from you then? Can you explain a little bit like who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Maxwell. I'm an illustrator. I've been illustrating for quite a while now. I think just saying it's probably got my first commission probably in 1998. Community.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of up and down a lot since then, but at the minute I'm kind of more known for birds, I suppose. Kind of done a couple of bird books out recently, and so I kind of took it over, but I still do lots of other stuff as well. It's just doing watercolour birds, but it's quite exciting at the minute. I'm really enjoying my career. It's gone from the last few years have been quite tough after the credit crunch to actually being quite varied and really good fun.
Yeah.
And even with I've got 2 kids, even with that kind of added pressure, it's still I've kind of forcing my way through and making money while at the same time doing like good projects. So,
yeah, that's amazing.
They are still out there.
Yeah. Do you feel like the credit crunches had to? Like the recessions forced you to be more creative with where your work can go and like who you can show it to. Did it make you think about bigger audiences, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of, I think it was at the same time as having my first kid. It was just like, right, we've got to kind of take this a bit more seriously and try and, rather than just kind of doing whatever I thought was cool and what I wanted to do, is I stumbled on something, keep at it, and just keep working at it.
Yeah.
The credit crunch really, I think, hit a lot of people did that with it.
So just like get a bit of a more filled out idea of what it is you do. Can you explain and maybe show a few examples of like in the broader sense what your illustration practice is about now? Like,
in what? In the sense of like just show some kind of work?
Yeah. Let's do that. Like, do you want to do that screen thing?
Yeah, should do that. Sure.
Hang on, I'll tell you what, I won't do it, you do it, and then I'll accept it. Yeah, this looks like it, we just need to just give it a second. Yeah, nice. Right, it's a bit like looking into the Matrix now.
Welcome to my brain.
I'm getting out of the way there.
Right, so it's quite varied what I do really. Like I said, at the last month it's been bonkers. I've finished a children's book. So that's the cover. It's actually like a locally commissioned thing, but it's actually hit quite well. Basically, so this guy's done lots of rhymes, and I've been illustrating. Can you see this?
Yeah, it's lovely. There's a bit of lag on it, but it's great to see him pop up. It's great. So, so in terms of a brief, what were you given?
A rhyme.
Right.
Basically, this is about an albatross that's never been crossed. So this is all digital stuff, obviously, which I really pushed to do because I think the guy originally wanted me to do my watercolours, but it would have been a full-on nightmare, so much to do.
Right.
And plus I hadn't done any digital work for a while, so I really wanted to do that. So obviously there's no text on them, so they don't really make much sense. But it's kind of like doing. So it's that, and also my watercolors. I suppose this is from the new book that isn't out yet, but it's Woodland birds. All of these.
Okay, cool. So this is the stuff that you've been getting a lot of really positive response to of late.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so I did the first book, Our Garden Birds, which I think came out in 2012, I think. It hasn't been out that long, but yeah, it's kind of took over a little bit. Especially last year, I was just doing watercolour birds continuously, which isn't a bad thing, because I mean, it's really combined. Like my work's really combined with the watercolours and stuff, but it's just nice to also do other stuff as well.
So can we just talk about the birds a little bit? Like, what was like the very first? I mean, where did that as a reoccurring or consistent body of work? Like, where did that come from? How did it all begin?
Well, originally, I'll take you back to the early work folder.
Nice.
And well, here we go. Is like my first birds that I've done. Which I would like to say I was about 5 doing them, but I don't know. But I grew up in the sticks basically, and was always kind of obsessed with bird books and birds, and I didn't even realise, but it was actually always in my work. They were always there, and like from going on through doing graffiti and street arty stuff, like there was always birds and animals in there, really.
Right, so is this some of your early graffiti work we're looking at here?
Yeah, so this is probably 12 years old, a lot of this stuff, 10, 12 years old. And like, I don't know if you can really see it. Because I look through that whole work and just realised it's just got birds in it. I didn't even know I was that obsessed. But like, look at all the great tits. It's like, it's obviously clearly like obsessed with birds. So yeah, this is from.
What do you like? What do you like about birds?
I think it was the fact that they were everywhere. The fact that there was a kind of hunter element to kind of know what they were. That kind of. I've always been a bit obsessive about like records and art books, and just kind of spotting and kind of knowing what they are as well. It's kind of like that kind of like hidden knowledge. That kind of you've only got flies in the street. That kind of thing where just kind of being a bit, it's like your own little thing, and that was for me, birds was like that from being a kid. And then obviously from doing artwork, just like colours and the forms, and I always tried to make whenever I was, rather than being decorative, there had to be something. Do you know what I mean? There had to be an actual.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
Living animal, you know what I mean, rather than like what is something figurative. So there we go. There's a massive barn owl in the middle of Manchester. So that's probably about 2004, I think. But yeah, and then so basically and then like kind of I hit like a brick wall with the illustration stuff. I think probably in about 2007, and me and girlfriend went to Australia. And I got given a bird book, Australian bird book, and like spent most of my time just bird watching and drinking beer and painting on walls. Really, and it was really amazing to have that time away. And it was like it was from being there. I kind of thought, right, when I get back, I'm going to kind of let go of a lot of other stuff that I was doing and just kind of concentrate a little bit on doing birds. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did really was I started making all these like wooden birds. So it was kind of about so it was about like simplifying them, so they're all recognisably British birds, but they've got that kind of stylized Scandinavian look almost. So that was like my first step into kind of doing what I was doing now, and they kind of took off. Excuse the pun, a little bit.
Nice work.
Yeah, and but it was kind of, I was trying to get more. I didn't really know what I was going to be doing with them, and these were really annoying to make. These things, they just took forever, and I couldn't really sell them for as much as I wanted to. So, and then but I got them on some Wagamama's placemats, which is quite nice. And and anyway, so I started doing some work for Heavenly Records, called By the River.
Right.
And they were like a blog that I really wanted to be involved with after I'd finished doing like work for them, and they said, oh, you know, like Jeff Barrett is a bit of a musical legend. So I was like chatting to him, and I was like saying, oh, you know, I want to be part of it. He's like, well, what are you into? I was like, oh, I'm into birds. I was like, well, just paint your favourite bird of the week. We'll call it Matt's Bird of the Week, and there you go. So I sat down and penned this. So this is the blue tit, so I'm using my hand. The blue tit was the first one that I painted, and yeah, kind of couldn't get. It was the little painting, and I scanned it in and stuff, and it was just so simple. I was like, right, I need to get something more out of this. So I wrote like a couple of sentences about how much I like a blue tit, and then that's it. And it just kind of clicked from then. A couple more.
Can I ask?
The earliest kind of things that I did with it, and yeah, so after a couple of them, like Jeff Barrett, kind of clicked with him that would make a good book. Then we were, and I was like 100% behind that, and then kind of just started rolling from there, really.
Right.
So yeah, so you can see the difference from like that blue tit in that, well, that blue tit to like these ones now. You know, it's kind of, even though that blue tit there, that's the first one.
Yeah.
In the first page in the first book, I kept it and just, you know, it's just nice to see the.
So you feel like the style with which you describe the blue tit is you're still telling the same story, but that's evolved just through like making it more and more.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that thing about I kind of like that is what I was using there, and these ones is, you know, like watercolour paints from like W.H. Smith, whatever, and not know really what I was doing. Now I've kind of like through trial and error found out what really good materials like would work with what.
And has that made a big difference working with watercolour?
Yeah, and especially using the certain paint, certain paper is, you know, it's kind of worth. I found it's worth spending more to get. You know, it's just nicer. It's a nicer finish.
Yeah.
Nicer to use. Just, you know, I don't know. It's just that thing. It just feels nice.
Yeah, sure.
Putting paint over it, you know. So.
Do you have any problem scanning this work in for like repro? Like, is it okay from a scanner to a printed digital book?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been sending them into the publishers now, and they've been doing it, because I did it myself for the first, and I didn't think, yeah, it's quite difficult getting the right quality, and when you see them come back, like the books are always, the quality is not as good as the originals, obviously, but, yeah, you can, it's tricky, but it's still there. You know,
right.
It's still good. But yeah, it's easier to just send it to the publishers and they do it.
Okay.
I'll get someone else to do it. Yeah.
It's great stuff. Can I ask you a little bit then about how you develop or like design and artwork? Do you use like a sketchbook, or do you just draw freely? Like, what's your process? If you can like explain that perhaps in some way useful.
Yeah, I always start in a sketchbook, or just pieces of paper. Like, I'm a nightmare for just like drawing on whatever paper I've got kicking about, and then I'll just lose it.
Right.
I've got like sketchbooks, especially for doing work in, but you know, they're always in a bag or at home or something like that, so I always lose it. But yeah, I love to draw, and it's kind of what it's about, really. So it's like so I'm only sketch pads. So I just kind of, if we've got like free time,
yeah,
you don't get much of these days, then I'll just be like, I always want to sit down and draw. I've kind of got out of the habit a little bit recently, with just constantly drawing, you know. But I think it's really good for you just to be. Yeah. It's just, even if you did not even know, I think it's good to not even know what you're drawing, and then you can just come back to that and then kind of pick things from it. Yeah,
it's nice to see like certain recurring things on that page, like you like developing them or working them out or trying to. Do you find there's like a lot of things you just draw over and over again, just as like?
Oh, constantly, yeah. It's just, just forever. It's like searching for the perfect beat, isn't it? You're just kind of searching for the perfect woodpecker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a problem. But so I think, and it is that thing as well. Just I think if you just sit down and like sometimes if like in a rush to do something, I'll just sit down and draw something, and you know it's not. You just could have worked better on the shape of something, or you know, just like simple things just can look so much better if you just make it a little bit more tweaked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was working like something I just finished last week, which is over in Belfast, and which started like on this page. So I got commission from it. I was just like on the train trying to work out what to do, and this is kind of stemmed from this little drawing at the bottom. But then, like saying about refining something, it was this line really. So it was that little line in the front ended up being this one. It ended up being in there, you know. So that's all.
Wow.
From that little sketch.
Yeah, Matt. So you had a bit of a problem with that lion. I like his legs. That lion at the front, he was misbehaving, was he?
Was that sorry?
The lion was misbehaving. You had to, I don't know. Sorry, it's bad language, isn't it? You had to like spend a bit of time designing that lion to get it right. I see.
Yeah, I don't know. It just ended up you kind of like just keep tweaking him and just keep drawing him until you just find something that actually, looks what other people will think looks like a lion.
Yeah.
So it's nice once you find something that you like.
Yeah.
Really pen moves when you draw it.
This like mural stuff is that seems like quite specific to you. I mean, there's not a lot of people working like that. Do you get people approaching you quite often to do bits of wall art? Public stuff. Where's this come from?
Yeah, well, I'd like to do more, but it's one of those things that I don't really. I think I used to do quite a bit of it, and I kind of got a bit sick of using spray paint. But it is quite poisonous stuff.
Right.
And it's I kind of fell away from it a little bit, but it's definitely. I do love doing it. There's nothing better than doing a big wall.
You've got a background in graffiti, am I right? And that's something you've always done, like I suppose it's not a profession, is it? But something you just do for the passion of it. And then that has informed like your mural work and your illustration work.
Yeah, completely. But it ended up being like what I was saying like before I went to Australia. It did end up being a career, and it kind of killed it for me because it was like I was doing a lot of like workshops and just doing whatever. Yeah. When I was living up in Manchester, it just kind of really just felt like all I was doing, and just it was wrecking my body. Like I was getting like a tennis elbow, and it was just so I kind of like I dropped it, left it, and it felt like everything was coming from the same pot. Whatever I drew would be exactly the same as what I did on the wall. You know what I mean? And that's what at the minute, I think what I quite like, what I'm liking about my career in the sense is that. Can we do those watercolours and can we do this? And I mean, they're quite different styles at the end of the day, but I think I can get enough out of it to be, I don't know, getting hype my own supply like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Have you got any examples of your graffiti work?
Yeah.
Or maybe more mural stuff, whatever. I mean, I'm just interested.
Oh, yeah. This one.
One second and I'll introduce you.
So this one I did with this one. Did the Ghost Patrol.
Yeah, nice.
The what?
That's in the Northern Quarter, isn't it?
That's right, in common. So that started off in the sketch pad there. It's a shame this.
Nice.
This guy didn't quite turn out well. But I got quite into all this horse skull guys. Guy out in the moon smoking.
Yeah, nice. You got a bit of pipe smoking.
not to have, I've got some early, like when I first started off, yeah, I ain't got much.
It's all right, no, it's fine. I think that what really fascinates me is that someone who works at that scale, and I suppose it's a different way of developing your drawing style. How I feel when I look at your illustration work that you can kind of see that link, that there's I don't know if you feel the same, like a crossover between the graffiti stuff and the illustration stuff. Is that a fair thing to say, you think?
To see what there's a...
That your graffiti like informed your style?
Oh yeah, massively, yeah. And the way that I paint, so I paint with watercolours, I paint with acrylic, a lot of it comes from spray paint.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't really a very good example, but just the way, it just like layering techniques and things like that, and in like the way that now, like with a lot of my illustration that I don't like using, I'm trying not to use outlines in a way, even though I'll draw everything first and then take it and use my tablet on it and stuff. In a way that's also from not wanting to do outlines when I was doing painting using spray paint.
Yeah.
Because I kept buggering it up, I think. So,
all right, fair enough.
Quite like flat.
I've got a question from Sophie. What do you want to say?
I was just going to ask, because I'm quite interested in sort of looking into stepping more into big mural work as well as just doing like smaller bits. And I was just wondering, like in terms, because you mentioned that you use like spray paint a lot, like what typical sort of tools do you usually use when you start doing like graffiti, well, when you did your graffiti and your murals based stuff? Is it predominantly spray paint that you use?
No, I use a lot of house paint, just Dulux or Wilkins.
Can you talk us through that Belfast one? How did you make that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is all spray paint, really. There's because it had all been primed.
Yeah.
Before I got there, I didn't really need to be knocking about with a lot of big paintings. It's usually best to actually use emulsion just because it's quicker and you get a flatter finish. But it's just kind of about that confidence of being able to kind of sketch it up.
Yeah.
Big. I think the hardest thing is getting something small and getting it big. You know, and there's not really many. I mean, I know some people project it.
Yeah.
You know, use projector and mark up with chalk and stuff like that. But I kind of think that's cheating a bit, personally. Yeah. I quite like the challenge of like doing something. Like when I first started this one, and I was up a cherry picker, and it was really dangerous, and there was like buses going past, and the whole thing was wobbling, and like I did the girl's face, and it was tiny, and it had to stay there all night, and I had to say people were walking past just like taking the piss out of it because it looked so stupid. I don't go back in the cherry picker until I had it properly cordoned off and somebody else was driving it because I was scared of heights. But a lot of that is just literally just made. It's just a lot coming in, really. You know, it's kind of. I think the hardest bit is like getting it sketched right, and kind of didn't really know. I had a vague idea what I was doing as well. I could have planned it a little bit better maybe, like beforehand, but I didn't really have time. And I had a vague idea what I was doing. And also, see these windows up at the top. They originally wanted me to paint them as well. But once by that cherry picker and only got to like where the owl is, and it was no way. It was getting up to the top. It's pretty terrifying.
What's the building like? Who's the client?
Well, it was it's just it's called the Cathedral Quarters. It's a really nice area in central Belfast, and it's kind of got a lot of trendy bars and nice restaurants and good clubs and stuff. And this is obviously quite a good pub. And I actually first saw this pub. First time I went to Belfast was 10 years ago, and I painted a skip that was part of the City Hall, and it had someone cooking seagulls in it and stuff like that. It was really part of the arts project. And I first got off the plane, we got took to a pub opposite this building, and it was all knackered and stuff, and it was covered in graffiti and just bad graffiti and that. And I was like, right, I want to paint that, you know. And then 10 years later, I was up a cherry picker.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so it turned out quite nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. Have you got any other kind of recent projects that you're proud of? You'd be happy to show us briefly?
Yeah. So I did this for barber. So I got contacted at the beginning of last summer, and they were doing a project called 100 Days of Summer. And so basically I did a lot, they used quite a few of the birds that I'd done, and just about British wildlife really. I also wrote a little bit about animals, and it's kind of where I'm wanting to go a little further. I reckon I could probably, I'd love to do like a British wildlife book.
Yeah.
In this vein of the bird books. And yeah, so it was one of those things I kept in contact with them, saying, you know, let's do some other stuff, whatever. Because it was just a little thing I got free. I got a nice jacket out of it, but you know, and then I got contacted off the head of women's wear to do a range with them, basically. So all just kind of my take on British wildlife, really. So and then Photoshop. Yeah, so I ended up doing giving them loads of animals, basically. Which is
nice colour scheme. Those flowers are nice as well.
Right up my street, basically. So yeah, so that was really nice. It's just one of those things that I'm getting a lot of nice jobs these days where people are like into what I do.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, what's your take on this? You know. Yeah. So I just, it's really nice just to do a load of artwork. I feel like because it's all stuff like close to home that it's nice to do rather than like kind of like doing a pitch where or some kind of commercial work where you're just a bit like forcing your style into something. You just kind of doing the bare minimum.
So this has all come from you just actually genuinely being interested in wildlife?
Yeah, exactly. And just having the opportunity, like brilliant. I was like, brilliant, I can draw a newt. Yeah.
Hooray!
You know, it's just like, hey, finally! You know, it's not that I need to get paid to draw a newt, but you know, it's just those kind of things, isn't it? And then and it turns out that the harvest mouse that I originally did, you know, is getting turned into a t-shirt as well, and I did these. So I'm opening it up in Photoshop. It's a bit rubbish there.
Sorry. Ah, nice.
It's just really nice. I haven't actually seen the finished thing yet, but also we used a lot of them in a big wall that me and Rich did in Manchester.
Nice.
As well, so it's just kind of the ones that didn't get used.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't really matter if they're used or not.
What sort of beetle's that?
That's a stag beetle.
Right. Okay.
And so it's just it's like I think just really nice to be doing British wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just having a look at these questions here. It might be a bit of a difficult question to ask, but I mean, there's one here about being organised and like the business side of being a freelancer. Like it's difficult to summarise, but what do you see as good practice and how much time do you have to dedicate to that side of things? What's your experience of it? We're just talking about being organised, networking, finding work and like looking after the business side of things.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a full-time job, really. I think if you're, it's like I've found, you know, it's really nice. I get these big projects like books and like t-shirt ranges and you know other things, and it's always nice to think, oh yeah, I've got this big chunk of time now, and I've got this chunk of money that's going to cover that, but it's not. You've got to, you know, it's always like a balancing act of constantly putting the feelers out for other work and, you know, going to meetings and prospective work and, you know, just kind of getting in touch with people to see if there's any possibilities of you working together, and you know, and if you neglect any of it, then it all kind of feels like it's going to start crumbling down, or you know, you kind of, or there's something missing. So it's constant balancing of just always having to keep the right amount of effort in to other places.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I mean, it's strange because we're not like professional freelancers here, but we are like trying to manage the demands of the course, and I think we've been having conversations about what you have to do to maintain that space within which to be creative, and then around it you've got all the other stuff that needs to be done. But it's interesting that I think there's parallels.
Definitely. I mean, you've got so much, like on a course, you've got so much to do anyway. You know, I've been doing a business course as well, just because it's like, right, okay, I've got all of this, all of the, like the birds and stuff like that out there. I should be making, you know, more. I should be making my own business to go with it.
Yeah.
That stuff, but because I wasn't really getting approached by the people who I wanted to be getting approached by, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, and just from doing that, it's like an extra thing on top of everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
Can I ask you a few more questions, and then I think we'll tie it up, Matt. But I wanted to know about, because we're first years here, we're just about to finish the first year. Can you remember all the way back to when you first started to study illustration and graphics and stuff? Were there certain things that you discovered when you were at university that were really, really useful? What were the best things you learned at uni?
Well, it's gone back a long time. This is the early 90s. I was under a lot of beds. Well, I think it took me a while to find my own feet, I think. And what I'll always take from being at university was like just having the opportunity to do lots of different things. You know, like did like photography and screen printing, and because I actually originally studied animation, I didn't study illustration.
Right.
And then I got to the second year, and I kind of realised that animation had turned me into an alcoholic, and I couldn't really handle it. So and I got more into designing characters and doing the whole, designing them.
Yeah.
Actually putting them together and making them come to life, whatever. And then, so I didn't really know what illustration was at the time until somebody like pointed out. I kind of thought it was like medical illustration.
Yeah.
Just, you can have a lot of fun doing it, and it's exactly what you like to do. But yeah, I think for me it's always just having that opportunity to just try stuff out, because you might not get that opportunity once you leave uni.
Yeah.
Or if you do, you've got to pay for it extra.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have a go. All right, nice one. Finally, then, well, actually, no. Before you got into that, I forgot to ask. Do you guys want to say anything? You got any questions for Matt here? Yeah, Sato, what do you want to ask?
Do you stay up a lot to finish all your work?
Do you stay up late a lot to finish your work?
I don't. I get up early.
Nice. How early's early?
I try, if I've got a lot on, I try to get in the studio for about 6:30 in the morning. Like, the morning is that's my magic time. I do the bird spotting on the way in. And then it's like, don't tell me, bro, have the computer on, I do whatever I do, but no, keep like the internet browser off, and that's when I can write as well, I think. I can't write during the day, but for some reason. And yeah, so sometimes I will stay up late, but it's kind of always feels like more fun because I've been doing it for the day. But yeah, mornings is my time, I think. And plus I like to get home at about 4, 5 o'clock every day, so I can have a bit of time with family.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. More questions?
What would you, what advice would you kind of give to people in terms of like getting out there and kind of finding like the first footsteps of getting into things, like work and things?
Well, so getting like commissions for illustrations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really tough these days. I mean, it's always tough anyway, but it's kind of just, I think it's like, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Like my thing, I didn't have any confidence when I first started, and it took like a friend of mine to actually send my work into the guys who were running Scroll Collective.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's heard of them, but you know, at the time it was quite a big thing. And I was like, no, my stuff's shit compared to all of theirs. But he sent it in, and you know, from then I got all kinds of work, and that was the beginning of my career, I think. But it's like, you know, it's like shy bands getting out. So if you don't like let people know who you are,
Yeah.
then people, you know, they're not gonna see your work. So it is about just trying to get to know people, get things sent off, just kind of badgering people a little bit, you know, just and just do lots of work, just do lots, just be creating all of the time and try out different things, because you never know what thing's going to take off, even if you're not into it as much as some of the other stuff you do. Somebody else who's got a bit more power and sway might be, so you know, and that's always a good boost.
Awesome.
Magic. Any other questions? All right, Matt. This has been smashing. I wanted to ask you, last question. In terms of illustration, what do you think makes really, really great work in your eyes? What's great illustration?
I like stuff where it obviously reflects, you know, what it's supposed to be reflecting, but also it's just got that added extra element in there, whether it's just looks amazing or got a bit of humour. It's just something like there's something where, you know, it's not just, you know, there's quite a lot of almost like stock illustration being used these days, which, you know, just it's very stylised but just a bit bland. You know, it's always had, throughout the years, there's always that kind of stock style of illustration that gets used, and you know, it's just something that's, it's, I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it's just something that just extends that, whether or not it's just showing a bit more personal about who's done it as well. You know, it's just little hints of somebody else, you know, in there, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe that's when it's getting more like art. I don't know, it's kind of...
It's not a bad thing.
No, exactly.
We're not afraid of that word.
Oh,
no, we embrace it. All right, well, I think we'll tie it up there. Can we say thanks to Matt?
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be looking out for your next book and your bits and pieces. But thanks again, Matt.
Fantastic.
Cheerio.
Good luck with the rest of the year.
Thanks, Matt. Ta-ra.
See ya.